What is going on, you guys? Welcome to another Right to Real Love live stream. If you didn't know, this is where we discuss relationships and dating for men and women of faith. Today, we got a really good lineup of topics that we're going to be diving into. But before we get into them, I want to introduce my lovely co host, Tatiana. What's up with you tonight?
Hey, I'm good, Jay. How are you?
Oh man, I'm doing amazing. Super excited. As y'all could probably see from our image, we're going to be talking a little bit about Zack, Michaela, Married at First Sight. So if you are a
Yes.
fan, I think you guys will be able to find some value in some of the things that we'll be diving into a little bit later on. Yeah. And I know you're a fan, right, Tatiana?
Yeah, I've been watching the show since season 9. And so, this season has been a mess, a hot Houston mess. So, we're going to get into it later.
Most definitely, most definitely. So we'll kick things off as we always do with our icebreaker. So this time around, we're going to talk about the holiday theme. We know that Thanksgiving is right around the corner, so we want to get an idea of what your perspective is when it comes to taking somebody to meet the family or either going with your date to meet their family. So the first one that we have coming up is how long till you bring your date or your family to a Thanksgiving event? What's your take on that, Tatiana?
I think it depends on your family. Like, if you know they're gonna be all up in your business, like, is this the one? Like, they're gonna be asking you all kind of questions, like the severity of the relationship. You probably don't want to just bring anybody to meet your family. First of all, that's
Mhm.
kind of disrespectful. But if it's someone that you regard as someone you care about, someone you could see yourself having a future with, maybe there's no time limit on that. Maybe
Right.
like if it's someone y'all had really good quality dates that first month and like just happened to be in October and now it's November going on Thanksgiving. So why not bring that person to dinner? But if
Mhm.
you're not sure about where you guys are going, even if there is a time on it, I mean, after a certain number of months, if you still wishy washy about this person anyway, why are you still wasting your time with them? But
Right.
here we are. Let this be maybe the test for you. Like, how serious am I really about this person? Would I bring them with me for real to Thanksgiving? So maybe it's a question someone who really has someone should ask themselves. Yeah, what you think, Jay?
Oh man, I think when you start talking about inviting people over to meet the family, it's getting real. Like it's getting real. Like I personally would not just invite anybody over to meet my family. And to be completely honest, I wouldn't want to be caught off guard by somebody inviting me over to go and hang out with their family over the holidays, especially if it's somebody that I'm dating. I feel like if I'm in a relationship, I'm more than likely going to say yes, either to being a guest of somebody else's or inviting a young lady over to meet my family. But if
Mm-hmm.
it's just dating, unless we've been at it for a while, I probably would steer clear of doing that personally. But that's just me.
What's a while though? Like, what if you met that person this year? Would that be too soon for you to bring them to Thanksgiving, or would it be like has to be a certain number of time for you?
I would say kind of going back to what you were saying, like if I started dating somebody, let's say in like August or like end of summer, and we're coming close to this November time, if me and her are vibing, by that time, I think I would do it. Even if we weren't in an official relationship, if we both were vibing, if things were, heading in that direction, then I
Yeah.
think I would totally be open to doing that. I think that would be my exception. But I would say this, I have to definitely be feeling her, and I feel like I would have to have a pretty good sense of her family, especially if I'm going to, meet her family in particular. Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay. All right.
So let's see what our viewers are saying. What's up, Cynthia? We see you out there watching. What's up, Hungry Millennial? We appreciate you tuning in. Tiffany, thank you so much. Welcome to the stream. I hope you guys are enjoying it so far. Definitely let us know what you think. Would you go to somebody else's family for Thanksgiving? And if so, like how long have y'all been together before you say yes to that?
It's a good question to start us off.
Yeah, I mean, holidays are an interesting time. I think it can
Mm-hmm.
bring out the best and the worst of people. I feel
Right.
like it can definitely let you know whether or not somebody takes you serious, or at least that's my perspective. I feel like going to the holidays with somebody means that we're pretty serious or heading in that direction. What does it mean for you? Do you feel like, nah, you ain't got to be serious to be going out there together?
For me, it would be like I would take it seriously because at this point, my family's kind of expecting me to be more serious.
Mm.
I don't think they wouldn't be thrown off or offended if I brought someone casual, but they would definitely ask me a bunch of questions. So to ignore all that interrogation, I'll just wait till someone serious that I want to bring around them.
Right, that's real. And I see we got Tanisha in the building. What's up, Tanisha? I definitely want to know
Hey.
what you guys think. Let us know how y'all feel about this whole going to Thanksgiving with your boo or, with a new boo. And I'm curious, do you or have you heard of any like horror stories or any friends that took somebody to their family's house and they regretted it like, man, I shouldn't have did that?
No, thankfully, I haven't heard any horror stories from people I know.
Well, that's good. That's good. Well, Tiffany just said she would say at least 6 months and must be potentially in a serious relationship. I can totally rock with that. I
I
can
can feel
totally rock.
that.
That makes sense to me. I feel like you've let enough time go by, and at the
Hmm.
same time, you're heading in the right direction with this person.
See, Tiffany put a number on it with the 6 months. So if we do the math, that means that that person was before cuffing season started. So that means there's
Well
potential
before.
that, yeah, so that means that they're potentially serious. It's not just a fling or someone to have and hold because it's cold
Mhm.
outside. So, interesting point there, Tiff.
Right. And that brings something else up to mind, right? We kind of get into the whole dynamic of what we talked about last week about initiating dates, conversations versus dates being initiated. As a woman, Tatiana, how do you feel with regards to this? Would you feel like it would be on the man to say, hey, I'm inviting you over to the family? Or would you invite a man and say, hey, I want you to come and meet the family this year?
It depends. It depends. I don't like to have to say it depends, but there's like no cut way how this goes.
Right.
So it would be nice to be invited. I don't want to have to invite myself to anybody's situation. We could talk
Hmm.
about, yeah, so keep it open. Like, hey, what are your plans for Thanksgiving? What do you and your family usually do? Stuff like that. I think by that point, you should get a gauge of how he or how she is around their family.
Right.
So that might give you a hint as to if they may want you around because they're
Hmm.
trying to protect you, or they don't want you around because their family's going through some stuff right now, and
Right.
let's just take it easy.
Nah, that's real. That's real. And I see Ebony, she got the emojis. So my question is, Ebony, is that like you sweating bullets because you're like, nah, I'm not really trying to invite nobody over the family, or I'm not trying to meet his family because I don't know what's going on in their household. Let us know a little bit more about what the emojis mean, Ebony. I would love to hear that. Tanisha says, I would take an invite to the family's house as being serious. I don't have a
Hmm.
time limit on it though. And I agree. I think it's serious, man, when you invite
Yeah,
somebody to meet the family. For real.
yeah, for sure. If you just met that person, I would definitely be like, oh, wait a minute, no.
Right,
Like
right.
if I met them this month, I don't know, but
Yeah.
yeah, I see what you're saying.
That would be way too soon. Like
Yeah.
if I just met you in November and 2 weeks later you're like, come on over. I mean, it's different if you like, I made a plate for you, I hook you up with some grub, but like actually coming through, that's a little bit different.
Ooh, you know what? That sounds like a good plot for a romantic comedy. I need to write some notes.
Please, you
Get
writing a
my
book.
notes.
Yo, you might add that. That might be a scene in the book.
Yeah.
So Cynthia says, this is superficial, but I would invite him to visit my family because I know the food is going to be good. Yo, once you know,
Yes.
you know. And I mean, I'm gonna just say, as a man, I definitely wouldn't be mad if you know the food is gonna be good. Now, this is the thing, though. Y'all know when it comes to some people's family, they think that the food is through the moon. All through the roof, and it's the best thing you ever had. But then when you have it, you're like, oh, this is what you was talking about. So like, I will hope that if you bragging on the food, it gotta meet it. It gotta meet the qualifications for sure.
Exactly.
So with that being said, Cynthia, I'm curious, would you be hesitant if you did go over to another guy's house or to your man's house and eat the food there? Like, are you a picky eater? Like, I'm curious. Are y'all
Hmm.
curious about like, nah, I don't know them like that. I might not be eating that much over here. What's your take on that, Tatiana?
I think if you just know what you want to eat, and if stuff looks crazy, like it's set up poorly, and it looks like it's been made by people who were sick. I don't know. Like you just
Right.
gotta kind of make it work. You want to be polite, right? But you don't want to
Right.
be flat out like, "Oh, this is nasty." Just take what you can, and
Yo,
just
that's
kind
real.
of.
So Tiffany says, I have my my fiance's ex-wife surprisingly come to Christmas dinner.
Whoa.
She was supposed to drop off his daughter, but stayed trying to make me uncomfortable. Yeah. See, that's
Wow.
not where it's at.
Now we competing on Christmas though. That's rude.
Right, right. Some people be trying to bring the drama, man. Trying to bring the drama.
Mm-mm-mm.
So Tanisha says, "Oh no, not if it's just you two to 2 months ago." She said, "It doesn't have to be a year though." Right, right. 2 months,
I
I
know
think,
that's
is a
right.
little bit
Yeah.
soon,
Mm-hmm.
and a year, yeah, not to, doesn't have to necessarily be a year. Doesn't
Right.
have to be. So my man, the hungry millennial, what's up, Tommy? He says you can't eat everybody food, fam, and that's real. You cannot.
It's true.
You cannot. I'm curious.
That's
Have y'all
Bible
ever
actually.
had some bad experiences?
Yeah, that's Bible. You don't want to end up with food poisoning because you wanted
Right.
to please the grandma. Because yeah,
Not at
we're
all.
not.
Not at all. Tanisha says she's a picky eater, so she would get small portions just in case she got to put that napkin over
That's
the
smart. That's smart,
plate.
Tanisha.
She's smart. She's smart with it. And Tiffany says, at the hungry millennial, I agree, can't eat everybody's food. And that's facts. That's
Hmm.
facts. You cannot. You cannot. So our next one, y'all, is here it is. Will your family welcome them or grill them?
Mm-mm-mm.
Nobody know
Let's
your family like
let's let's start with you, Jay, on that question. Will your family accept them or grill them or
I
welcome
say there will be some grilling. I feel
them?
yeah.
Oh
I'm gonna be real. Like my family is especially not everybody, but there are certain family members that they have no filter, they have no chill,
my!
and they just gonna
Wow.
say whatever they want. And I would prepare a woman for that. Just say, hey, these are the people that, if I grab your hand when they come near, that's the sign that this is the one. I'm here. I'm here with you. I'm holding your hand through this. But just know they may have something crazy come out their mouth, and just know it's not a reflection of me and it's not a reflection of my whole family. It's just that one individual. But I think for the most part, my family would be welcoming. You would, get some food. Everybody would be glad to see you there. But I know some people in my family, they had a little side eye or make a little snide little comment on the side. And yeah,
Wow.
the shade is real with some people. The shade is definitely real.
Wait, are these female relatives
Of
doing that?
course.
Okay, I just want
Of
to know. I just want to
course. Like
know.
no, like
Okay.
the men ain't got time for all of that. The men just be like, okay, I see you. She hot. Yeah, what's up? The
Uh-uh.
men, they just gonna be like, yeah, okay, you heading in the right direction, young brother. But the women, they got other things that they paying attention to.
I can't. That is funny. For me, I think like if I brought a guy home, they would welcome them because they'd be
Mhm.
happy, like, wow, Tatiana brought a man home. Oh my gosh, it's been forever. They would
Wow,
also
so like they would be happy, but the shade would be directed towards you a little bit though.
I wouldn't get shade. I would get 21 questions.
Oh
My
wow. Okay.
my
Which
family
which is
likes to
worse?
ask
I'm
a lot of
curious. Which
questions.
is
If
worse?
shade is worse,
Okay,
but I
shade is
think
worse.
I can handle the questions. I'm used to it at this point, so it's to be expected. I would just let them know, like, hey, they ask a lot of questions. So just know that in advance. And it's not
Right.
even in a grilling way, it's like a curious way. I'm like, just you don't have to answer everything, you know?
Okay.
They just be asking questions to gauge in conversation. Yeah.
Now I gotta ask this. You
Hmm.
said you don't have to answer all of the questions. Now, is that from your perspective? Is that from the perspective of your family is understanding if all questions are not answered?
I feel like they just be asking too many questions. So I'm like, some questions don't need to be answered. I don't know. I just feel like sometimes it's not the right time.
I'm gonna put
Yeah.
a pin
So
in that because I want to know what some of those questions are. But in the meantime, Tiffany says my family will grill. They grilling. So I mean, it's so important for us to know our families because
turning up the heat.
turning up the heat for real. So let's see. Cynthia says my family would be so happy. They would definitely welcome him. It sounds like she kind of got the same vibes that you were talking about, Tatiana. The family just like, yo, we glad you brought somebody here, and we
Yes.
just glad to see this.
They're gonna assess everything about this person because they're like,
Mm.
oh, if Cynthia brought a man home to the people, it must be something. Let's look at him from the top of the head to the soles of the feet. Turn around, do a little twirl. Okay,
Right.
how his voice now? Where you work at? You know, all these questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Okay.
it be in a welcoming way.
Right. So let me ask you this: what are two questions that you feel like your family would ask that make you just drop your head and shake it because you wish they wouldn't have asked that question to the man that you brought?
I think it would be something about their personal life that is too soon to ask,
Mm,
especially if that's the first time that they met that person. Like, we
okay.
don't need to deep dive into why this person got to this point from A to Z today.
Right.
Maybe that's another conversation, but not at Thanksgiving dinner. Can you pass me the cornbread? I'm trying to eat. Why are you asking my man like where too many in-depth questions at the
Mhm.
first sighting, you know what I mean? So
Right.
outside of that, I think another question would probably be something like that's super personal, not like what are your intentions with my daughter thing. I think people,
Mhm.
family should ask that question, but I feel like if it's like super personal or maybe something like that would cause a lot of friction in the room, like
Mhm.
something that is a strong opinion, maybe like
Mm.
politics, maybe faith. I mean, hopefully we're all on the
Mhm.
same tip, but
Yeah.
not everybody is. So something that's not going to make people be so like black or white about it in the room
Right.
and be like quick to judge who that person is before even
Mhm.
getting to know them.
Right. Right. So, do you feel like your family will bring up some of those hot button topics like faith and or religion and politics? You know, the things that most people say, steer away from those, especially within that first conversation.
You know how conversations flow when you're having a good conversation with
Mhm.
someone and then it goes from one topic to another and you just happen to land on politics or
Mhm.
religion or something controversial.
Right.
It's just like, oh, I didn't know. How did we get here? Deborah Cox,
Mhm.
like, how did we get here? No one's supposed to be here. So it's trying
Deborah
to,
Cox.
like, we're just trying to, back out of the situation with some tact, like,
Yeah,
hey, just keep it neutral
that's
until
real.
we have a more developed one-on-one relationship with those family members that are asking those questions, I guess.
Most definitely. Yeah. So in the chat, definitely let us know. Will your family grill them? Will they welcome us or welcome them? And what are some questions that you feel like would be inappropriate from your
Hmm.
family asking them or that you wouldn't want to be asked? I'm curious to know. What would you kind of get offended by, Tatiana, if somebody asks you?
Something personal, like maybe about my body
Mm,
or something sexual. People are weird. I remember watching The Nutty Professor this year to rewatch it for nostalgia purposes. In that
mhm.
dinner scene with Jada Pinkett's character and Eddie Murphy's character and his family at the dinner table, they were so inappropriate. You
Right.
never, you never
Right.
want to be in that situation. It was so funny though because you can imagine you being at the table with
Right.
your date, someone you had crushing on or someone you've been with, and you got all these family members not helping you at all. They're
Nope.
all like, yeah, she's fine. I was like, whoa,
Right.
whoa. So that just came to mind. I definitely would not want that to happen. So
Yeah, that's definitely inappropriate. That's one of those instances where you're definitely trying to exit stage left. So
mhm.
Tiffany says, my family would ask where he worked, is he single, does he have any children, on and on. He will be tested and tried. So yeah,
Spit
yeah,
fire.
that's definitely a grilling. I think that goes back to last week when Ebony had brought up the point about interrogations. I feel like that would kind of fall under that umbrella.
Hmm.
So Cynthia says they would ask about his education. That's fair. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. My man Tommy says, not in front of me, they won't. But I have five sisters, so they will see how you respond in certain scenarios. Yo, five sisters.
Ooh, that's a
Oh
lot of
man, yo,
sisters.
I already know. Like they gonna be bringing the heat for that young lady that Tommy brings
Hmm.
home for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. It's a movie that it reminded me of where the dude had like all of these sisters and like, man, they was giving this girl the business.
Hmm.
I can't remember the movie. If I did, I would definitely bring it out. But yeah, my man was trying to navigate these sisters, and they all had an opinion, including Mama.
Listen, I'm the oldest of my four of three. Well, there's four of us total, but I'm the
Uh-huh.
oldest sibling. So I will be that one in the back, just observing and
Mhm.
discerning, like, who's this person? And just asking
Mm,
us little questions here and there. I'm trying to feel for how they respond to questions, how they're interacting with everybody. I won't have a
right.
lot of questions, but if someone else is asking questions, I'm listening. I'm like, okay, what he say?
Right.
What he say? I'm like, it's so sibling. Is that what he told you when y'all was talking in the
Right.
beginning? Okay, let's make sure everything adds up.
Gotta clear it up, right?
I want to be
And
the
yeah,
fact checker.
Cynthia was like, five sisters make me nervous. So yeah,
That
I think
part.
so like Tommy, I think the ladies will agree. Like you gotta let a woman know that up front. Like, yo, you not just bringing her over to meet the family, but you do have five sisters that are waiting patiently for her arrival.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, look, Cynthia says I would have to meet one sister at a time.
Gotta make sure your hair done, nails
Right.
done,
It's like a
everything did.
gauntlet, man. Tanisha says, my mom will definitely ask him if he has a church home, his career field, and her favorite question is, what are your intentions? Yeah, like you
That's
said.
hey, that's the golden
Yeah.
question right there.
And I think that's fair.
It
That's fair.
is.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair.
You dated my child. I want to know what are you going to
Right,
do with
right.
that? So important.
So here is our next one. Would you be more nervous to be with their family on Thanksgiving or for your date to be with your family? I think I know how some people go answer that question. What about you though, Tatiana?
I think I'd probably be more nervous to meet his, but in my past with dating guys or being in relationships, I haven't really had an issue with a guy's parents or family
Mhm,
like that. So I'm more of an introvert though. So when I
mhm.
first get to meet people, I'm kind of reserved and quiet because I'm trying to get a gauge for the room, like get to know these new people before I open
Right.
up and be more of myself. So I
Yeah.
don't want them to feel like I'm being antisocial or standoffish.
Mhm.
That's probably what would make me nervous is the whole being introverted part. But
Right.
I definitely wouldn't mind, meeting them. I would definitely want to, so they know that I'm here.
Yes.
And
Yes.
let it be known if there are any others, I will find
Right.
out.
And you bring up a good point. I'm curious because with you being an introvert, how would you feel if you find out his family is very extroverted? Would that
uh,
make you feel uncomfortable if it's kind of like that whole Nutty Professor thing, right? Where like
mm,
nobody here is afraid to speak their mind, they loud, everybody is trying to be seen. How would you feel about that? Would that make you a little bit uncomfortable?
I don't know. It'd be something to get used to. I'm like, how often do you spend time with your family?
Yeah.
We would have to talk about it because I want to know, like, if they're introverted, extroverted, like how
Mhm.
family oriented are they?
Right.
How do they include me? Because I probably would disclose that. I'm like, hey, I'm more of
Yeah.
a, I'm laid back. I'm an introvert, whatever.
Hmm.
And in the right setting, I could be more outgoing or want to
That's
have
real.
fun with the group. So it's not like I'm totally need to withdraw, but
Hmm.
if it's too draining, we just want to reclude back
Right.
to our room and go to sleep or read a book or just be quiet.
Right.
All the
That's real. So Tanisha is chiming in on her take on five sisters. Five sisters is a lot. You may need to prepare your girlfriend for that. I think it's good to meet family on a non-holiday first, and then
mm,
when a family holiday comes around, it will not be so awkward. I,
that's a
I
good
agree with
point.
that.
Because
Yeah.
there's always going to be that one sister that's going to be like, she didn't even bring nothing. She didn't even cook anything. She's like,
Yeah. I mean, the way I look at it, sometimes women can't they be women's worst critics?
yeah, we
Like,
can
wouldn't it?
be very catty.
Because let me ask y'all this: would you prefer somebody with five sisters or five brothers?
Mm, I don't know. That's a good question. Probably five brothers, especially if they have a good relationship, like a good like mentor mentee kind of relationship,
Hmm.
because men need that accountability and
Right.
brotherhood. Sisters, I have sisters, I have girlfriends, so it's like
Mhm.
I'll just try to treat it like that and go into the situation like that, and not try to feel like I'm not worthy of being there. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
sometimes you have to put yourself in the right mindset. Like this person wants me here, so I'm going to act like I belong here because I do.
That's real. That's real. Cynthia says five brothers. No surprise there. Tiffany says, I would be more nervous meeting his family if this is the first time. Yeah, I
That's a good
totally agree.
point. Hmm.
Yeah. I feel like some form of nervousness is natural for anybody,
Right.
especially when you're going into uncharted waters, the territory where you don't really know what to expect. So yeah, I think you should always try your best to be as prepared as you can. Tanisha says, definitely meeting his family. I haven't had any issues conversing with a boyfriend's family though. Well, that's
Okay.
good. That's good that
Yeah.
you never had those issues. So yeah, but no, I can respect that.
Jay,
I
did
can
you
definitely
answer the
respect that.
question?
What's that? Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Let's see. Would I be more nervous? I feel like I would be more nervous with regards to their family. And I feel like because of the comfort zone of being around my family, I know what to expect. But because I'm the type of person who isn't that fond of unknowns, and I'm learning to, become a little bit more comfortable with not knowing or being able to predict what's going to happen, I would definitely say I would be a little bit more nervous. I wouldn't necessarily say that I would be afraid, but
Mhm.
I definitely would be like, okay, I'm not necessarily sure how this is going to turn out, but
Mhm.
I'm gonna definitely be on alert though, for sure, for sure.
Okay.
So my man Tommy says I'm the introverted one, and I barely kick it with all of them. So yeah, I wouldn't spring a Thanksgiving with my military status as a captain. They might ask 21 questions. Yo, that's real. At least you
Mm.
know it though, bro.
Yeah.
So like you can prepare yourself and prepare the lady in your life. Yo, that's real, man. That's real. And Cynthia asks, will five brothers be difficult for men? I'll be honest. The first thing that came to my mind is like, if a man has five brothers and you know the woman that you're bringing is five, and you got five single brothers, yeah. I mean, because your woman may be like, oh, hold on. My man isn't the finest of these six brothers. So like the last thing you want to do is lose your woman to one of your brothers,
Not
though,
your
man. We
brother
talked about
stealing your
cruising
girl
last
though.
week.
Not the brother stealing the girl though. I'm
Right,
sure this
yo.
happened before.
Oh, you said somebody it happened before?
No, I'm sure this happened before, but
Oh, yeah.
woo.
Yeah. Yo, some brothers ain't got no chill, and that's real. Yo, Steven, what's up, man? Welcome to the
Hey,
chat, man.
Steven.
Steven says, my family is ghetto and my wife family is bougie. He said, I'm outgoing and can adapt to any environment. Yo, that's real. That's real. So I'm curious, man, how was that first initial encounter for both of y'all? Like, I would love to know, man. Like, going into the bougie environment, were you already prepared or are you prepared since being married? I would love to know a little bit more about that, Steven.
Yeah,
For sure, man.
did she warn you about the bougie family before you
Right.
came up in there?
Were you warned, man? And hey, that brings up a good question. Which one would you be more on alert about going into, the ghetto or the bougie family?
Mm, I don't know. I don't know. Both have their pros and cons, right?
Yeah,
So it
because
depends on
it's
the
levels to
partner.
both, right?
It depends on your partner. Is your partner more on the ghetto side or the bougie
Mhm.
side? If that's a thing,
Yeah.
we all have that little in all of us. But if they're more conservative than liberal, I'll say it like that.
Okay.
I'll be considering like the family members. I'm like, okay, just so you know, they get a little loud. I tell my friends all the time, like when I'm talking on the phone and my Haitian family is
Mhm.
here talking loudly in the same room, I just let them know this is just how they are here.
Mhm.
It's okay.
That's real. So Stephen went on to say, well, her family is from Kenya. Haven't met them yet. It took her 4 to 5 months to even tell her parents that she was dating an American. It's a whole thing. Yo, that's
Ooh,
real. And
yeah,
talk about the different cultures. That's a total different dynamic to
it
it, man.
really is. Yeah.
But yo, I trust Stephen that when you meet them, everything will go smooth, man. I pray that it will, man, for sure.
Yes.
Yes. So Cynthia says, my family can be very bougie. So I'll probably be more comfortable on that side. Yo, that's real. That's real.
I understand.
I ain't mad at that. Definitely not
Yeah.
mad at that.
Shout out
So
to my Haitians.
hold on, say that again.
Woo! Shout out to my Haitians. Cynthia put the Haitian
Right.
flag in the comments.
Yes. So here's our next one. Would you and your date just make an appearance or would y'all stay for dinner?
I would want to stay for dinner. I want to eat. I want to get to know everybody. I want to catch up with family. If they're coming to my family's place, if I'm going to theirs, I want to meet them and get to know them more. So I would want to stay around. How about you?
That's real. So I would say for me, I would stay. Like I would be down to stay. Unless it's just like if I'm visiting her family and it's like a hostile environment or we in some
Hmm.
neck of the hood that I feel like, our safety may be at risk if we stay too long, then I would say I'm prepared to, stay for dinner for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So Steven says she's afraid of your inner ghetto to be unleashed, like unleashing the dragon.
No. I
Oh man,
can't.
that is hilarious, man. That is hilarious. Yo, you gotta convince her, man. Like it has been tamed.
Y'all got to have a safe word.
Right. You got to. You got to. Tanisha said it's 50-50. one can be as bad as the other. You're right.
That's why
You're
I was
right.
like undecided about it because you just never know. Because the bougie side might be a little too
Mhm.
unwelcoming, and the ratchet side or ghetto side might be a
Yeah,
little too comfortable and
right.
familiar with people. Yeah,
And what I was saying, like it's levels to both, right?
yeah.
You got like your run of the mill ghetto, where it's just like somebody grew up in the hood, so they may talk with slang, they may dress a certain type of way. You may be aware that it's a more louder environment, but it's different from when you get to that Uber level ghetto, where you got people when you come to the house, they're not in the inside, they're on the outside smoking, rolling dice. You can actually see unconcealed weapons on people. Like, I mean,
Okay.
there's play in the home. Like, I mean, people
Yeah.
arguing. That type of level ghetto, that's like, oh, hold on, man. This might actually be a threat to our actual health and well being.
Right? And then you're gonna be like that SpongeBob meme. I'm gonna head out.
Okay, right,
Like
right.
this too much.
Facts, facts. And Tanisha said she would stay for dinner. Most definitely, you need time to get to know them and try to bond with them.
Hmm.
That's real.
Yeah.
That's real. I'm curious though, Tatiana, is there any instance or anything that you can think of that will make you be like, yo, I got to get out of here like immediately?
Probably if like the whoever's house it was, if that person was arguing with somebody else in the family and it was getting a little too real, I'm like,
Hmm.
this has nothing to do with me.
Right.
I'm gonna subtract myself from the equation. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
real. Gotta play it safe. Got to. Stephen
Hmm.
says the longer you stay, the more prone you are to be open to awkward and uncomfortable questions. That's facts.
Especially if there's liquor involved, because some
Right.
family members do like to turn up and they
Right.
want you to turn up with them. They're like, "You're not drinking," and
Right.
then it becomes a whole thing. And then before you know it, you had too many hot toddies, and you telling your whole
Hmm.
life story to grandma, but grandma only knows so much. She's half asleep, but you don't know
Right.
that because she sleeps with her eyes open. No one told you until the cousin sat down next to you, and you're like, "Now you know," and now you're embarrassed.
Right. Yo, Tommy said, not the dice game on the port. Yo, y'all know it's real. Y'all know it's real, man. Like some people gonna be shooting them dice no matter what, man. Yo, I've had a trip or two to the hood. So Tanisha said some people can be bugetto. That's
That's
real.
right. That's
That's
right.
real. Yeah, bugetto is that's an interesting mix right there.
Hmm.
Because I feel like at heart they're more ghetto than bougie. And they just give you a sprinkle of
A
bougie on
sprinkle of
top of the ghetto.
bougie. Yes, they like, I
Tiffany
have
says,
Kool-Aid and Verplico.
right. Tiffany says, yes, loud verbal conflicts is my signal to exit right now. I agree.
Just
Gotta
protect your
go.
peace, yeah.
Gotta
Especially if you
go.
have nothing to do with it. Just excuse yourself. Like, it's been
Bye.
nice meeting you guys. Is this my plate?
Right. Right.
Thank you. Okay.
Yo, and it's even better when the person that you came with is on that same wavelength.
You
See,
can like,
like where problems come is when they like, no, what you trying to leave for? And they loud with it.
oh
Like,
my
yo, you
gosh.
just go ahead and let the whole house know that I'm trying to exit stage left. And now everybody looking at me like, what, you leaving already? We ain't even
Mm-hmm.
had dessert yet. And it's just
They're
like,
judging you. Yeah. So
right,
that
why you leaving? Look, you going to some other girl house? You got another girlfriend? Like then that's
oh,
when
it's
it's just
a
like, oh my gosh, like what just happened?
and it turns into a whole other thing. I think that's a good point. You should
Right.
definitely probably discuss a code word or some
Yes,
kind of physical body language signal
facts.
to show that y'all ready to go.
Right.
Like, he-
Tommy says, yo, you drink too much. People's uncles start talking about where you get that young thing. That's real. That's real. What he just said.
if you see the crown roll bag out, you already know it's about to happen.
Yes,
Just prepare
yes.
yourselves.
Tanisha says, I was just about to say, if alcohol is involved, that's when the environment can get hostile. Arguments or fights can happen. They can.
May I add, if spades is involved, arguments can get really because my family likes to play games too on
Hmm.
holidays.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily get into spades, but just overall games, we get real
Yeah.
competitive and stuff like that. If you are not either playing the game or you're a bad player in the game or you're a bad loser,
Hmm.
it's not fun. It's gonna mess up the whole
Right.
vibe, you know what I'm saying? And then there's some people who are really passionate about
Yeah.
their games like spades, and it'll turn into a whole thing. Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't just
Games
make
are
sure
a
you know
catch
how to play if
22.
you're going to sit down with them.
Right. games are a catch-22 because either it will increase the bond because they like that you either are a very good player or
Right.
that you're a very bad player that they get to take advantage of, or the bad side of it is just the opposite. You good and the person that's used to winning all the time is losing
Ooh.
now to you. So yeah.
Ooh.
Steven says, if they ask me why I'm leaving, because I'm grown and I want to.
Well.
He said it. He said it. Yo, Steven says, if Spades is involved, you better come strapped. Yo, that's real. That's what some places you better be. You better be.
Put on the whole
Tiffany
armor of God.
agrees. It can get serious. It can get serious. All right, y'all. So we got one more and then we'll get into today's first topic. So here's the last one. Have you ever brought a date to Thanksgiving with your family?
It's been a while, so I don't remember. I do remember going to Thanksgiving with their family, and it was
Mhm.
cool. Yeah, I don't remember if I like brought anything to like if I made anything. I kind of like helped out with the preparing beforehand because we were
Yeah.
over there before the dinner. But yeah, it was cool. Nothing too crazy.
I would say in my experience, like I've brought I brought a woman. Like I haven't brought a lot of women around my family. Like typically for me, I reserved it for relationships and
Hmm.
serious relationships at that. So I've never gone over anybody's house for Thanksgiving or anything like that. I've done like other holidays, like a 4th of July cookout or something like that, but nothing to the degree of like Thanksgiving and Christmas where, you are willing to, or you're more likely to see, a little bit more of that real side of people's family. So I would say,
Hmm.
nah, like for me, I brought somebody, but I've never went with somebody else to a Thanksgiving dinner personally.
Okay.
Curious to see what the chat has to say. What has y'all experience been? And with that being said, in your experience, was it a positive one?
Yeah, it was a positive experience. It wasn't anything like crazy. Nothing caught fire. There was no issues. it was
Nothing
it was
caught fire. That's good to know.
it was kind of weird telling my family that I'm not going to Thanksgiving with them. I'm going
Mhm.
to my boyfriend's Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So that was
How was
there.
that?
It was a little weird because it was the first time for me. So I was just coming to terms with it. Like, well, this is happening.
Right.
I'm going to their home for it. But it was like, it's okay. I think they would be happy for me. You know.
Nah, that's good. That's good. Yo, that's real. So, welcome PK Chronicles. We appreciate you joining us. Says same, just those I was in relationships with. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's real. That's real. I find it safe. Like, I mean, one, if I'm just dating a young lady or it's heading towards a relationship, but we're not there yet, I don't know if I want to subject her to, those potential grillings, man. Like at least commit to a brother in a relationship before I put you through that type of situation. Like I feel like I owe you at least that much of a courtesy. But if somebody is like, nah, I want to come, well, I'm gonna look at you afterwards and be like, you glad you came? Wonderful. That's good. That's good.
Mhm. Yep.
Yes, PK, we appreciate you joining. Glad you're
Yes.
enjoying the
Welcome.
conversation. It's about to get
Welcome.
good because we're about to soon get into our first topic of the
I'm
day.
ready.
Almost done with our icebreaker. But yeah, man, Tatiana, with this whole Thanksgiving thing going on, I hope that everybody stays safe. I think y'all should be careful if y'all do engage in the spades and the games. Be mindful of how that family operates, because like y'all
That
said
part.
earlier, my man Steven, you might want to be packed. Come strapped, come prepared, because some people do take that game very, very seriously.
Okay. Yeah. Just check. Read the room, as they say.
Yes. Yes. Facts. Facts. Tanisha says, I have in 2 previous relationships, but the guys met my mom prior to coming over for Thanksgiving. That's smart.
That's good. Yeah.
Smart. Yeah. That's smart. That gave them something to prepare themselves for. So I think that's a
Hmm.
good thing. Yeah, definitely a good thing. All right. So let's get into today's first topic, y'all.
Hmm.
Where are we going? Okay, here we go. So what we gonna dive into first? Y'all saw the flyer. Women dressed inappropriately. So
Whoa.
this is the question that that I had in mind when this topic came up. Why do women become offensive when the way they dress is questioned? And I'm not just pulling this out of thin air. there is actually a video that brought about this entire conversation. I'm about to share with y'all so we
Uh,
can all see.
I haven't seen this, guys, so I'm reacting with you all.
Even better, even better. So I'm gonna hit play. You ready, Tatiana?
I'm nervous, but let's do it.
All right, let's do it.
I can't hear it though.
Can't hear it. It's too low.
No, I can't hear it at all.
Oh, let's see. How can I change this song? Oh, hold on. I know what happened. Hold on 1 second. Look at me. I'm slipping. Hold on, y'all. I'm gonna
No
bring it back up. I
worries.
might have forgot to press share this sound. Let's see. Let's try this again. Can you hear it now?
Mm-mm.
No?
Mm-mm.
That's weird. I don't know. This StreamYard thing is new to me.
It's all good. We figuring it out together.
What's
So
that?
what is he saying to her though?
So I'll explain it. So what happened is his friends are about to come over, and
Okay.
he asked her to change her clothes because his boys are about to come over. And she was saying, "What are you talking about? Like, this is my house. I don't have to change just because your friends are coming over." She says that if she want, when they come over, she can come out in a bathing suit or butt naked, and they better not look, they better not do nothing. And she's screaming at him the whole time, saying, respectfully, bro, as she's screaming at him the whole time. And then he flips it and says, "Well, what if I come out with my abs all out and everything?" And she was like, "Well, my girls better not look. They not gonna look, and you better not come out like that." So that's like the gist of the situation. And I apologize. I gotta find out why the sound wasn't playing. It should have been playing so that y'all could hear it. But yeah.
Tommy had a suggestion in there. Got to exit out and re-add to StreamYard.
Okay. Okay. So, and Tommy, is that like the whole video? Or are you talking about? Let's see. I wonder. Hmm. I'm gonna play around with this. Hold on. Let's see. It says I can do a video file. Maybe it'll work this way. Hold on.
Okay.
Because I would love for y'all to hear it. That's the whole point. I want y'all to hear what this woman is saying.
Oh, okay.
All right. So let's see if it works this time. Can you hear it now?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Bro, let me tell you something respectfully, right? Respectfully, I can come out here butt ass naked, and your boys cannot look at me. They should not be looking at me.
That's crazy. No, that's crazy to say.
No, it's not. I'm coming here to bathing suit or something. They should not be looking at
Fine.
me. Respectfully.
Also, I come in a speedo, one of your girls is here.
They better not.
They see my abs.
They better not. They better
Okay,
not.
all right. So
They better not.
remember you said that. Remember you said that. All right.
First of all, who's
you
recording
see what I'm
them?
talking about?
Who's recording them having this argument though?
I ain't gonna hold you. It's probably one of his friends. That would be my guess. Probably one of his friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, first reaction.
I was like, I don't agree because she's already bringing up a double standard, or she's like pretty much saying like, I can do it, but if you do it, I don't want you to do it. So
Right.
why can't we mutually agree to not come out of the rooms naked around other company? Maybe y'all could do that when no one else is around. That's y'all business because it's your place.
Right.
But can we just respect each other's boundaries? Because maybe that's the boundary for him. And she was like, nah, I can do what I want to do. It's that single mentality operating that we see operating here in a relationship.
Right.
That's
Right.
what it came off to me first watch.
Yeah. Yeah. And PK Chronicles is like, listen, tell us more. I want to hear more. What's your take, PK Chronicles? And Tiffany is like, wow. Yeah.
It's
definitely.
a lot. Yeah. And you just could tell from her energy, like not her energy, but like her attitude, the vocal inflection of her voice, her tone. She was coming at him like over what? Defending you, wearing whatever you want. He's not trying to make you seem like you're trying to hide you away from his people, but he's saying like, yeah, I just want you to like dress appropriately because we have company coming over. Because who knows if his boys can't really be trusted? Maybe they have less issues, and why would you want to kind of entice that? Even though that's their responsibility, it takes two to participate in a situation like that. So
that's real. And I mean, she's out of her mind if she thinks she's gonna walk out butt naked and nobody's gonna look. Is she crazy? Like,
it doesn't make sense.
Every last one of
We're
his
all
boys
visual
naked gonna turn.
creatures. We're all visual creatures.
Yeah. So Steven says, wait, how you come out naked and expect me not? I just said it, yo. Look, and not expect me not to look. And how long are you planning to stand in front of them naked? I got questions. Right.
Hello.
Yo, Tatiana, I'm mad that even crossed her mind. Why would a woman even think to make her mouth say, I can come out here naked if I want? Hold on. Have you been thinking about this? Like, why is that even an option?
She comes off as like she would do that just to be spiteful and petty.
Facts.
I wouldn't put it past her at this point.
I wouldn't. It's already on her mind. Tanisha says, that's not logical. If she is in a revealing outfit, his guy friends are going to look. She is wrong. Facts.
Hello? Because how do you know if they're taken or they're faithfully to their partners? If they have partners, like they have eyes, they don't look.
That's real. PK Chronicle says, my position is there has to be a level of respect for yourself. Say it. Yes. For yourself. Like, you can just totally remove him from the equation. The fact that as a woman, you don't even see the need to cover yourself up in the presence of men that are not your man. Like, so thank you, PK. But goes on to say, and your relationship to understand boundaries. I don't think the ask is irrational. It's about respect. It is.
Seriously.
And first and foremost, respect for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Facts.
Yeah, it's a big word right there, boundaries. So thank you, PK Chronicles, for that.
Yeah, PK Chronicles goes on to say, given this is without context, not sure if she feels he is already controlling in the relationship in other scenarios, and she's fed up. But with limited context is disrespectful. And I agree.
Yeah.
We don't know their whole dynamic, right?
Right.
But even still, this one scenario, the fact that I feel like
it's not worth blowing up over.
Right.
To me.
Right.
Also, if you don't want me to be around your boys, I don't know, maybe she's trying to get some money out of him so she can go get her nails done or something, and she don't have to, like, we can make up all kind of scenarios, right? But if we're given what we see right here, it just comes off as unnecessarily disrespectful for both parties involved.
That's real. Tiffany says he just wanted to respect her. Right. I don't even feel like it was controlling in this situation.
Ooh,
but
that's
to be fair to what PK Chronicle said, he may have been controlling in other scenarios. I'm not going to say that that's off the table, but I didn't feel like he was trying to control her based on what we could see in the limited video. But she says, but she was unable to appreciate his concern. Yo, that's real.
Yeah, and that's a good point to what Tiffany said. I think sometimes as women, we can get so independent-minded, single-minded, or we just have this mentality that we're going to do what we want to do, and men and everybody else got to fall in line. In a relationship, however, you have to learn to kind of like compromise and figure out what works best for your relationship, because you have mutual respect for each other. If you don't respect him or respect his opinion because he has a concern, because he cares about you, maybe you shouldn't be in a relationship with that person. Right. But if you're taking it as offensive or you're defensive because they're coming off as concerning, it's not a controlling nature. You really have to filter that out, because sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. So let's not always assume that's the most negative scenario. You got to filter that through and be like, okay, I'm hearing him going off of past history and such and such. Okay, I'm overreacting. Maybe he's just concerned. And that's it.
That's real. That's real. And Tommy says, Tatiana, you have raised his hopes in dating again.
Yay.
So many of these ladies are wild. And for the streets.
Not hashtag streets.
Right. Yeah.
Woo. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Yes.
For having me.
Yes. Yo, that's real. That's real. Tanisha says, I wouldn't even be comfortable in short spandex shorts in front of his boys.
Come on.
Once again. And that's the difference to me. Like, that's the difference between a woman that truly respects herself. But we got a good one here. Stephen says, devil's advocate, what's the difference between men playing on the court shirtless and her wearing revealing clothes?
They're playing a game. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Speak on it.
I feel like that's different. Those are different scenarios because like they're going they're outside playing recreational basketball. Like they're not trying to impress anybody. They're out here playing a game. They're not like, oh, we're gonna have this exhibition game in front out of all the girls and her friends, and then maybe you might have to put on a jersey or a t-shirt on. But it's to me that question seems like it's simply them just playing basketball versus her really wearing revealing clothes at the house when her boyfriend's guys are over. That seems like two different things to me. What about you, Jay?
Yeah, to me, what stood out as the biggest difference, in my opinion, is the fact that one is at the house. It's in private. One is in public, right? So, and that's no shade or anything, but when we're talking about in the privacy of your own home, I get what she means. Like she should be able to dress however she want, but guess what? You live with your man, and your man has his friends over. So there are some times when you got to understand that now your house has become like a public space. So, similar to what, Stephen was saying, when your house becomes a public space, you do have to be more mindful of the way that you're dressing. And I'm not going to sit here and say that there aren't guys who go play shirtless that aren't peacocking to a certain extent for the women that's out there. No doubt. No doubt. But the difference is whether or not you doing that in the presence of your woman, trying to make her jealous or feeling like, oh, you ain't got to worry. I think another good scenario would be like if you got a guy that works out, he's in good shape, and he go to the gym and he walking around shirtless, where that there's other women that may be choosing. Like I feel like in a situation like that, then a woman may be like, hold on, bro, like I know you work out, I know you looking good, but the ladies at the gym know too. So I think
Yeah, that's a good scenario. Like, hey, I know you go out to the gym all the time, but babe, please don't wear those particular gray sweatpants because we
right.
know they enhance your shape a little too much, and we can't have that. They need to know you're already called taken care of. Thank you.
That's right.
Respectfully.
Tanisha says, Jay, Tommy seems like he has some stories to share. I bet he does.
We're gonna have a story time with Tommy one of these days.
Tommy, we would love to have you hop on and join us at any point in time. Let us know if you want to join the stream because I'm down to hear stories. I love them. PK says, time and place. Beachwear is for beachwear. Shirtless is for b-ball. We at the house with the boys. Put on some clothes. That's facts.
Mm-hmm.
That's facts.
Some people dress like beachwear nowadays on Instagram, but nevertheless.
Yeah, that's real. That's real. I can't say that that's not true. People come out the house wearing a whole bunch of stuff that in times past, you got people's great grandmamas rolling over in their grave. I mean, like they doing the roly poly when they can't believe their great granddaughter is walking out there in those those yoga pants, the spandex, the leggings, all of those things.
Those Amazon leggings.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, too much.
Tanisha says, right, Tatiana, it's sad when a man respects you more than you do yourself.
Yeah, you gotta check that. We have to check ourselves, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. Stephen says, so question, it's okay for guys or girls to look at him or her in public at the beach with less clothes on than in private. I feel like in that situation, you can't really control it.
Yo,
right?
Jay, like, hold on. Let me add to this. So to his question, Stephen, that was a great question. Because like if you have a beach party and you have your people over, they have their people over, y'all in beach attire at the beach, but you're inappropriately dressed, if it was the context of what you have on at home, then what? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it still inappropriately dressed? Is it still inappropriate? Right. So I think that's what he's asking here.
Oh, yeah. And that's a good question, right? Because we know that there's options on what a woman and what a man can wear, right? It's the difference between the woman showing up in a one piece versus her showing up in a thong. It's the difference between your man showing up in, like trunk boxers or, trunk swim shorts versus showing up in a Speedo. Like, we know that there are choices where you can definitely ramp up the inappropriateness of your attire. So once again, we know that if you in beach attire, especially over here in the West, you're going to be revealing some skin. You're going to be revealing the assets. My question is, how much revealing are you going to do? I know like some women, I don't know what they call it. Correct me and let me know what it is, Tatiana. But you'll see some women when they out at the beach and they'll have like I don't know what it is, like a shawl or something like around them. Like
it's on the bottom. On the bottom only.
On the bottom.
A sarong.
Okay, that. You know what I'm saying? So like it's like she still got that on, but she not just out here showing everything. So I feel like there is a level of modesty that can still take place, even in a scenario where, some people would look at it as a green light to just come out and show everything to everybody.
That part.
So let's see. Tanisha says, I think a woman can wear a respectable swimsuit as well as if she's around his friends at the beach. Yeah,
That's true.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this is the one thing that I want to say about this topic. So first thing that I think maybe a tad bit controversial, right?
Uh-oh.
Which is I think this is one of the downsides of cohabitating before you get married. And I'm making the assumption here that these two people are not married, right? Now, if they marry, okay, that's a whole nother ball game, right? And I feel like that ramps up the conversation because if your wife does not understand that she shouldn't be out there in front of your boys like that. I mean, it's one thing, that's your girl. I don't know how long y'all been together, but this is your wife. If your wife doesn't know that there are certain things that should be reserved for just her husband, then that brings into mind something else that we got to wonder, like, okay, like what does she think the role of a wife is exactly? And what role does she think you as her husband play in this equation? So I would say to me, this is just a warning because if they lived in separate houses, this would not even happen. She could be at her place cleaning up, wearing whatever the heck she want to wear, and then he has his boys over at his house. But when y'all live together, it can bring up certain things like this that will crop up. That's not saying that you can't do it, but I feel like this kind of highlights one of those things that you gotta once again be mindful of. What's your take on that?
That's a good point that you made. Definitely, it's like, and it comes again to overall boundaries to me, and like just knowing, like, hey, this is what I'm. I don't know if this is the expectations conversation from last week,
Right.
but yeah, this is a boundary I have. I'm doing this for a reason, and maybe that could be better communicating so it can diffuse all the tension
Right.
because it shouldn't have to get to that point, right? But yeah, I mean, if there's some context or background to why people say what they want to see in the situation happen, then hopefully that'll make things clear,
Right.
and there could be some compromise because there's no reason to fight over something like that.
I agree. I agree. And just to bring it back to, biblical, scriptural, we see here in First Timothy 2:9, it tells us the women should adorn themselves in respectable apparel. Now we know it also talks about with modesty and self-control. The whole braided hair and the gold thing, that's cultural, right? We know that we live in a different time. But when it comes to the respectable apparel, being modest and having self-control, I feel like that puts a lot of the onus on the woman. And I think that is where this whole conversation starts is why would a woman be offended by a man bringing up the question about how she's dressed in a situation like the video that we saw? What's your take on that with regards to like the woman's responsibility and her role?
Maybe she doesn't know that's something that she has to do.
Mm,
Sometimes people don't know until they're approached with that rule or precept or code of conduct. Like, oh, I've been always doing like this.
yeah.
What's the problem? Like, some people have no problem wearing what they wear out in public, but you go to Walmart every week and you see all the glory that people have on display at Walmart or places like that because people just do what they want to do. And so sometimes they do it because they don't know any better or they just don't care. Sometimes it's an act of rebellion. Sometimes they feel like they've been told by people all their lives what to do. And now they finally have an opportunity to be free to do what they want to do. And it's like, okay, but in this, like, that's cool for you. But in the terms of this relationship, I think, for a guy as a leader of the relationship, you should want to set a tone where there's respect for the person and that they're free to express themselves and that there's a time and a place. Like the Bible also talks about times and seasons. Like you're not going to wear a wedding dress to work.
I would hope not.
There's a time and a place for wearing a wedding dress, right? It's just a matter of context. That's a huge part of it in respecting the context.
Most definitely. Stephen says it's current culture as well. there's been a major shift with feminism and addressing patriarchy. So in some women's minds, it's the mindset of why does a man have a place to dictate to a woman? And
Exactly.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a skewed mindset where a woman is so indoctrinated with whatever belief or whatever square she's standing on that she can't even see when somebody is trying to give her some insight
Right.
or lead her in a direction that is beneficial to her. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like there's a certain limit to how far you should be willing to go with whatever your beliefs are. And, that's just my own personal opinion. What's your thoughts, Tatiana?
I agree with Steven's saying here because it's like, yeah, some people have very extreme feminist views. And to my point, it was like, you can't tell me what to do because I'm a woman and you're a man. Who are you to tell me what to do? It comes off as very combative. And then you're not allowing yourself to see that person's why behind they say what they said.
Right.
Sometimes it's
Right.
not out to get you. Sometimes it's really to protect you. And sometimes we have that same attitude with God. It's like he hasn't changed. People change. And so
Right.
it's like he'd been had his standards of how holiness and righteousness goes. And we want to fight him because we want to be current. We want to be cool. We want to be trendy. We don't want to act like, how he wants us to act. And so it's like, guys, like, did I stutter? Like, no, I set my standard
Right.
here, and this is what you need to do to get to that point. And
Mhm.
so thank God for his grace.
Right.
He's so gracious to us. Whereas humans, we are not that graceful. We need more of him, more of his grace in order to act like we got some sense. But yeah, we act just the same to
Right.
God sometimes, especially on certain topics.
Mhm. I agree. And I'm curious, as a woman of faith, what's
Hmm.
your perspective when it comes to how women have, I guess, how our culture has made it acceptable for women to dress what I would consider to a great extent immodest?
Okay. What just came to mind, thank you, Holy Spirit, was the awesome, wonderful actress Megan Good
Hmm.
Franklin.
Hmm.
She for years was a woman who was involved in Hollywood and she was acting and stuff like that. She still is. She's doing a lot of projects. And so when she got married to Devon Franklin several years ago, he's a preacher, not a pastor, a preacher. And
Right.
he also does stuff in film. So people were like, "Oh, you're married to a pastor. How can you dress like that?" She would have plunging necklines and she would
Mhm.
wear very fitted clothes, stuff that doesn't correlate to someone who's a Christian, let alone someone who's married to someone who preaches the word of
Right.
God. So she was getting attacked a lot for that. And she had to come to terms with, like, this is who I am. I've always
Mhm.
been like this. It doesn't make me love God any less. It doesn't make God love me any less. This is who I am. So
Mhm.
it's like people had to either accept it or move around. And I think a lot of those people who didn't accept that were like probably not really, they didn't really know her anyway, or didn't really like do life with her. They just saw the appearance, the outside, what she was presenting to the world. And so they were like, yeah, we're just going to put her in this harlot box, this unsaved box, this undelivered box. And so it's like a representation of how we all are. Like, we are all in a process called sanctification to become more like Christ. And so as God is working on us, there are habits that we have, the ways that we talk, things that we do, things that we wear that are still not a-okay with the Lord, but he's still, like I said, gracious enough to walk with us every day. And so if he convicts us about something, that's between us and him.
Mhm.
Not, we can't just be rocking around with people pleasing attitudes, but we could also take into consideration what they're saying and the how behind it. Some people honestly just want to be vindictive because they're
Mhm.
jealous, because they want what you have, so they want to tear you down and use the word to back it up. So, and then there's people who are genuinely concerned. But I
Right.
think people who find themselves being like judged for what they wear,
Mhm.
saying that it's immodest or it's inappropriate, ask your closest friends, ask
Mm.
your people in your circle, people whose opinions actually matter, because those are the people who are going to be honest with you, who have seen you, have
Right.
done life with you. You should want to get their take on it. And if it's
Mhm.
something that you're starting to see a pattern here, like maybe, like actually, maybe you could add some layer of clothing to your outfits, or maybe you could change it up a little bit. Maybe you don't have to show all your assets, but maybe focus on one. Like, there's ways to go about it. Like, you can be you could be attractive without showing everything. You know what I'm saying? Like there's plenty of options out here nowadays. There's Christian boutiques, there's non-Christian boutiques that still sell fashionable, trendy clothing that don't have to show everything like we see the celebrities showing off. You know what I'm saying? So you don't have to be in that same vein. You can do you and be original, but you don't have to show everything either and compromise God's standard for your life.
Right. PK Chronicle says, I fully agree with Stephen. It's also the time of this sexual liberation movement, and dress oftentimes aligns with our level of sensuality. That's real.
Ooh, yes.
That right there is facts. That's big facts. That's big facts, PK.
Clothing communicates. If you don't get anything from this, it gives a message because it's an art form. It's a form of expression. So when, for example, another example is Chloe Bailey from the Chloe and Halle duo. She was recently under Twitter fire because she posted a video in some lingerie and she was looking on a lollipop. It was just so inappropriate for her. It was like, Chloe girl, like we know your parents raised you better than this. You don't have to stick to this level of showing all this off and doing all these antics to get attention. You are way more talented than that to stooping to that level. So she took the video down. As much as she wanted to be sexually liberated in that moment, sometimes her fans, people she does listen to, they were like, girls, no, this is not the way to go. And so she took it down, and I'm glad she did, because that wasn't really her. It was like she was trying to be something that she wasn't, unfortunately.
People be trying to put on. Tiffany says, feminism has adversely affected relationships between women and men.
They don't want to have that conversation, though, Tiffany. They do not want to have that conversation.
No, they don't. And Cynthia says that she agrees with Tiffany. Stephen says facts. Yes. And Stephen says to PK Chronicles comment, yes, sexual liberation has made a huge impact as well. It definitely has.
Yeah.
It definitely has. Yeah. No question. So let's bring up our second topic for tonight. Before we do, just want to ask you guys, if you haven't already, hit the like button. Definitely continue to chime in the chat so we can feature you guys on here. And if you haven't already, invite a friend. If you know somebody would enjoy our conversation, definitely tell them to tune in, send them the link. And if anybody want to hop on stream, let us know in the chat. I will be sure to drop the StreamYard link. Y'all can join us on cam, and we can chop it up even more. But yeah, we appreciate you guys for tuning in, and we got a lot more in store. We haven't got to Married at First Sight. It's coming. We saving the best. You know how we gonna lead this thing with a bang. So let's first transition into our second topic of the day, which is, why is being a boss chick unappealing to most men? And Tiffany also said Aisha Curry was inappropriate getting naked.
That's a whole, because she was on the cover of her magazine or something, on somebody's magazine.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those people that, like kind of came out as, pure or, holy. And then you start seeing them doing like questionable stuff. And I feel like when a person does that, it begins to bring about that question of, who are they really? Like, are you pretending to act like you immodest? Or were you putting on a front when you were trying to give off like the whole holy girl thing? And I think that is the bigger question that at least comes to my mind, is like, who are you for real? Like, what's going on behind closed doors? Yep. So great question. Steven says, what's the definition of a boss chick? So my definition of a boss chick is a woman who is either operating her own business, so she's the CEO, she at the top of the hierarchy, the pyramid, or she's a career woman that is, let's say, for example, she's a partner, she's a CEO, she's a high-ranking manager, somewhere where she is in charge of employees, somewhere that her job requires her to exude a great deal of masculine energy. And the reason why I'm bringing up this question of, are boss chicks unappealing to most men, is because most times these women have the tendency, when they are asked, what is it that you bring to the table? What is it that, you bring as an asset to this relationship? And they are quick to say, well, I got these degrees. I got this business.
They show the
I
resume.
make X amount of money. And I just got to be honest, that is not what most men want to hear when I'm asking a woman, yo, what do you bring to the table? What value are you adding to me? It's great that you're able to, hit these things with regards to your business, your career, finances, but often it's women who care more about finances, degrees, education, and the ability to protect and provide. But when a woman is bringing that and trying to convince a man that she's the one, I feel like it's actually not as appealing as she believes it is. And that is the rationale behind me wanting to bring this topic to Tatiana and bring it to all of you guys tuning in right now today. So, with that being said, what's your take on it, Tatiana?
On this question that Stephen posted, or on your question?
Either or.
Let's see. So, a boss chick, I was thinking about that independent song. She got her own house. She got her own job. She her own car. She got 2 jobs. She worked hard. All that stuff. It's like it's a trend as well. That's also a new stereotype of women out here nowadays. You have the over sexualized woman, and then you have the boss girl, the boss woman. It's like she has to be working, and if she's not working, she's not really doing anything with her life. They kind of over or downplay women who want to stay at home and take care of their families.
Right.
Both. So I'm like, yo, you gotta get in where you fit in.
Yeah.
But for why is being a boss chick unappealing to most men? I think it's like a competition factor that comes in. Like if a woman is leading with her pedigree and what she's achieved, that's not really saying much about her character. Maybe it shows like maybe she's ambitious or competitive, but what about those things that matter to that person that she's on a date with? Because maybe he's not interested in someone like that. He wants to get to know her on another level. Same if a guy was doing something that she wasn't really interested in knowing. Like, I don't care to know that part, but what about, like, that's cool and all that you got this diploma here, but it's cool that you got this money. That's great and everything. But what about their character, though? At the end of the day, we're looking for character, because the money can change, the jobs can change, the title can change. But who are you at the base level? Who are you at your core? And how is that person going to treat me on a daily basis?
That's facts. Big facts. Stephen says, I think it has more to do with the expectation of what a man's role is in a relationship and the expectation to be the main provider, not just from her, but her parents. It's been the cultural normalcy. And he goes on to say, I personally had women declining getting to know me or dating me because I didn't have a degree. And you're right. You're right. There are these benchmarks that many women set. Like, let's just be honest. Nobody here should be unfamiliar to the list that some women have. And a lot of time, the list does include man's degree, his education, how much money he earns. Like, let me be clear. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, right?
Right.
And
those are important to an extent.
Yeah. And to Stephen's point, I believe it is a part of our culture for women to, and their parents, as he stated, they make an assessment as to how well is this woman going to be taken care of if we put her into this man's hand.
Those are good questions to ask.
Hold on, say that.
And those are good questions to ask.
Right. Right. No doubt. And let's just be honest. Sometimes people are not going to meet the qualifications. And that's fair. That's fair. And, for me, this isn't so much as men not being willing to meet the qualifications, and that's the reason why they're turned off by the boss chick. Not at all. I think about the men who are able to provide, able to protect. But to me, it's the byproduct of a woman having to be or choosing to be a boss chick. That masculine energy and how conflicting that can be in a relationship with a man. Now, I know people can choose what type of relationship they want to be in, but I'm assuming that the woman wants to ultimately marry and be with a man. And when you talk about any type of relationship, there's what we know as feminine and masculine energy. And there has to be a balance in some regard, unless those people are going to clash. Because if you bring two people that are highly masculine, the likelihood of those people clashing is high. And I think that when a woman is in that boss chick mode, how well is she going to be able to turn that off? Is she even willing to flip the switch off? Right.
Yeah. And sometimes they learn the hard way. But yeah, you got to find that balance, because it's like, are you a boss chick only at work, or do you carry that same mentality and mindset and behavior in your other sectors of life? Because there are going to be times where you have to submit to authority of someone else. It's not always like Submission is not only for romantic relationships or marriage. Submission is for pretty much every asset of life, because you have people that you submit to at work. You have people that you submit to in other spaces. So just consider that. And a guy, I think if a guy who's traditional in the relationship sense wants to lead in the relationship, there can't be two leaders doing the
Right.
same thing. Like there has to be a leader and a follower. Or if you
Mhm.
have a strength in a certain area, then you have to like kind of like be that person in that area and let the other partner do what they're supposed to do for the relationship.
That's real. That's real. And I got a question for the chat. Do you guys feel in dating and relationships, is a boss chick an asset or a liability to a man that does not need her to provide for him financially? I'm just curious. I just want to pose that question to the chat to see, is she an asset or a liability? Since we talking about bosses, finances, let's keep it with that type of analogy. Is she an asset or is she a liability when she's entering into a relationship with a man that does not need her to provide for him? But with that in mind, Tiffany says a boss chick, the way she defines it, is a woman with a feminist mindset that seems to send signals that she doesn't need a man. I would say
Ooh.
this, to be fair. I don't feel like all boss chicks have a feminist mindset, but I would say this. I think that there are quite a few that do fit the bill that Tiffany just created. I definitely believe that there are a lot of them that do fit in that mold for sure. And when you have a feminist mindset to begin with, it's going to be difficult if you are trying to align yourself with a man who has traditional beliefs. And to a certain extent, he does believe in traditional roles between men and women in relationships. So
Uh-uh.
then Tanisha says, I feel a boss chick is a lady who is a leader and CEO in her career and life and doesn't need a man to be happy. Yeah. And I mean, we've talked about this before, Tatiana. I can't remember we talked about it here on the stream, but there are some women who do fix their mouth to say they don't need a man. And I get it. I get it. I know what they're trying to say. But the last thing that a man wants to hear is that a woman doesn't need him. And not in the sense of like, oh, I need you and I can't live without you and I just gotta have you. But I don't know anybody that wants to be in a relationship with somebody and they don't feel like that person has a need for them in their life.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like, what's the point of being in the relationship with that
Right.
person? I see what Tanisha's saying. Like, they don't need a man to be happy. Yeah, you shouldn't rely on another human being to make you happy. That's the individual work that you have to do and find what makes you happy. They should add to your life. Yeah, you should want someone who's going to add to your life and be an asset to your life. And if that makes you happy, then that's great. So I don't know if the guy who has a job, has his own, has basically doesn't need his woman to work. For example, if she wants to work
Mm-hmm.
and he still wants to be with her, I guess that's an asset, because that means there's dual income for the household. Because like that's up to him to continue to pursue that woman. You approach her, y'all get to know her, and you figured out that she's a boss chick, and you got the means to provide for both her and yourself and your family. That's up to you as a man. Like, do you want someone who has an ambitious mindset? They want to work. They want to. They have dreams. They have visions. I think you shouldn't stop or hinder someone who wants to go after that. Because what if God put it in their heart to be in the marketplace, to make business decisions that impact people's lives? Like, we don't want to. This is where that equally yoked stuff comes from. We have to think about sometimes the details of that person's life and what God has called them to do. It's not always going to fit maybe your ideal, and you have to like look at it for what it is. Like, this is a great woman. She's a woman of integrity. She got this and that going on, and this is what she wants to do. This is her vision for her life.
Right.
Do I fit in there? Does it line up with what my vision is for my life? Does it line up for where God's leading me? These are the questions that people need to sincerely ask themselves when they're getting to know other people.
Right.
You can't try to change someone just because they have a set thing that they do. But if it's giving off masculine energy, then that's something she has to be aware of and work out with herself.
Most definitely. And Tiffany says, yes, that masculine energy creates conflict in the relationship and home. And I agree. It does, man, because, and I got to be clear, it's all about men who have a more traditional mindset, right?
Okay.
I know that there are some men who they don't care, right?
Yeah.
But when we're talking about traditional men who have a traditional mindset, I believe that they want their woman to be more feminine than masculine. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm just speaking for myself. Like, I do not want a woman that exudes a plethora of masculine energy. I just don't. Like, that doesn't mean that I want to be domineering or controlling, but I want the majority of the feminine energy within our house to be exuding from her.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the way that I personally look at it. And Tiffany says, if she's willing to submit to male leadership and support his vision, a boss chick can be an asset. That's
I
fair. I
agree.
agree.
I
I
agree
agree.
for sure.
I agree. No doubt. No doubt. So cool. Let's get into our final topic of the night. This is the one that we've been waiting for. Married at first sight. Zack and
Let's
Michaela.
get it.
Yes, and we're gonna look at some of these mixed signals. So I'm gonna let you lead off with this because you are our resident married at first sight expert.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, Married at First Sight has been on for 13 seasons. This season that is just wrapping up and going into the reunion special tomorrow or Wednesday for people who are watching the replay. Married at First Sight is a reality show. It's an experiment where they partner strangers who've never met before and they marry each other. The first time they see each other is at the altar. So they commit to a real legal marriage. And the experiment is, will they stay together after being married for 8 weeks? So they go through the ups and downs of getting to know a stranger and like forming their lives together. Like they get the show production gets them their own apartment, so each couple gets to know each other and live with each other. There's not really that many other rules involved. They don't put any stipulations on you should wait to have sex till you know that person or something like that. They can do pretty much whatever. So in this season, we saw a lot of craziness going on. It was a very diverse cast, and we had a nice looking couple that the experts who partnered them thought they would be really great together, but it turns out there were some things wrong. And you know what? It's called an experiment for a reason. So
Right.
we have Zack and Michaela. Zack at the time of the taping was 27. Michaela was 30 at the time. And so her family called her Hurricane K. Now she's
Her
emotionally,
family.
yeah, she was giving a
Tell you
lot of
everything you need to know.
emotional immaturity. She was giving anger issues. She was giving unresolved trauma that was coming up in the relationship. But in terms of today's topic on mixed signals, we're going to talk about Zack. And Zack was definitely giving those mixed signals. He was wishy-washy. He was illogical. He was up and down. And not to say that Michaela was without flaws, because she definitely had her issues. But when it came to Zack's situation, he was really like, he wanted to be with Michaela, but he didn't like these certain aspects of her. He didn't want to contribute to the pain that she felt of feeling abandoned, from her past trauma, but he was still leaving the house a lot. He was still going to spend the night at his old apartment by himself without her. There were just a number of things. And one of the wildest moments that Zack did, besides being super emotional all the time for no reason, was this back and forth that he had with Michaela. He's like, I want to be with you, I want to sleep with you, but I don't want to stay married. In fact, I want us to divorce, and then let's figure it out. Let's date each other after we divorce. Who does that? Who does that?
Well, I mean, a lot of men do that in reverse, where they let women know, hey, I want to kick it with you, want to get to know you while also having sex with you. And, maybe we can enter into a relationship depending on how things go. I mean, like, I feel like that's the lay of the land when we look at the 2021 dating scene. And I feel like Zack forgot that he was going on Married at First Sight, and that, bro, you did it in reverse. Like, you hustling backwards, bro. Like, you wanted to get the action popping. You wanted to get in between those sheets on some Barry White type stuff.
Okay.
But you realized that, oh, hold on. You just got involved, not just in a relationship, not just in a situationship, not just between the sheets with any old woman, but a toxic woman. A toxic woman. Like, I'll be honest, I didn't see the whole season, but I watched a number of clips. And all I can say, especially the one with them going to like the couples retreat or something, all I can say is like, is this a 2-year-old? Like I promise you, it looked like a 2-year-old tantrum. Anybody ever been around the little terrible twos? I couldn't believe a grown woman was acting like that. And that was the one thing that just stood out to me where my man knew, like, no, I wouldn't have been surprised that he said no. I'm assuming, right? He said no. He didn't say, yeah, I want to stay married to her.
Yeah, she said yes, she wanted to stay married, and he said no.
Of
But
course
here,
she said yeah.
if you watch the decision day from last week, though, Jay,
Okay, I gotta watch it.
he wrote a whole letter about how she's one of the best women he's ever
Mixed
known in his
signals.
life. And then he's saying all this flowery language that's kind of setting it up to be like he's going to say yes. And then he says, no, I want a divorce. The judges were shocked. Michaela was thrown. We were all shooketh. We didn't want them to be together in the first place. But for him to do all that just to lead like, no, come on.
Yeah.
That's mixed signals. And before that, real quick, he was giving this, I'm ready to be married. I just not want to be married to you. And it was just like, ooh, do you really? That was rough. That was rough. And it's like he was sticking around
He could tell her that directly, but when it came to saying no, I no longer want to be married to you, he got to break out a love poem, get everybody all up in their feeling like, oh, he about to flip the script, he about to say yes, and then he says no.
It's like he was battling himself on the inside. He knew that what he was dealing with was wrong. He knew that he was being treated wrong. He knew Michaela needed help. He didn't have the capacity or the range to help her. And on top of that, he said it to us on the show. He's like, I've seen this before and I don't want to deal with this anymore. And that's totally fair. If you see someone doing something that you don't tolerate or you have a high boundary for, why should you want to tolerate that? But if you're married to that person, you got to kind of like talk this through and work it out. But in terms of this experiment, he's not obligated to stay, neither is she. So for us as the crowd watching the show, we were kind of like, Zack, really? Why would you keep coming back to Michaela? Because they were still doing married people activities, okay? Right. And so if you can still get the cookies for free, you're gonna go get it. I mean, right. Since we're gonna have this conversation,
she ain't closed shop. Like, you know what
she
I'm saying?
didn't close shop. And that led to more confusion. So that's the whole point about this mixed signals things in relationships. People get caught up because, and that's another thing with the soul ties. It's just like all those emotions and all that lust and all that back and forth. It clouds your judgment and it keeps you from seeing reality for what it is. It's like, it's that real, you don't want to be married to this woman, but you keep acting like you want to be with her because y'all have one good part in y'all relationship that works. You gotta let it all go, bro.
Right. And that's the thing. Like, they enjoyed having sex with each other, but they did not enjoy being in relationship with each other. And Tiffany says, I feel Zack saw red flags, but he still wanted the sexual benefits. That right there.
Exactly.
I mean,
that's what it is.
No doubt. Like, and okay, hold on. Before I say that, Tanisha says, Zack consider her a wife only when it's time to get physical, right?
Exactly. Right. He's like, he got mad one time because she didn't want to sleep in the same bed. Oh, wow. He was like, well, I'm just gonna go to my place. I'm like, I'm gonna go to my apartment. Like,
so he's like, it's yams or I'm out of here. Like, he's like, yo, if I ain't getting the yams, why am I here?
Right. That was rough. I was like, wow. Ooh, sir.
Cynthia says, I think he was very confused too. He really wanted a marriage, so he kept trying to work at it despite the toxicity.
Mm-hmm. It was giving.
I mean, do y'all really think he wanted marriage? For real?
Yeah. Seriously. Like the casting special, when they talk about Zack and what he wanted in a relationship, a lot of the guys on this season had idealistic thoughts about marriage. And then when they didn't get what they wanted, they got reality. Mm-hmm. They acted like some kids. But anyway, Zack was one of them. So when he was one that said, when I get married, I'm going to come home and my wife is going to be playing with our kids and we're all going to be happy. He sounded like how a woman who watches too many Disney movies acts. Like he was like, oh, just marriage is supposed to look like this. But when you sign up for a show called Married at First Sight, you don't know who you're going to marry. That's the whole point of the show, boo-boo. Why are you on the show if you have an idealistic view on how marriage is going to go? How about you take your time and go find that person that matches your ideal?
Right.
Because you're not about to find it with no stranger. Good
And
luck with
like you
that.
said, this show has 13 seasons. So I would hope you've watched previous seasons to know that things do not turn out idealistically on this show. And like otherwise, it probably still wouldn't be on television for 13 seasons if it was that cookie cutter.
I will say for other people, cast members on this season, for the fans
Uh-huh.
who are in the chat watching,
Yeah.
Johnny did an interview where he said he never heard about Married at First Sight. Johnny
Mm.
Lamb, and y'all know who I'm talking about when I say Johnny Lamb. He saw other episodes of other seasons of Married at First Sight before he got on this one. He still signed up.
Mm.
Johnny was another one who wanted to
Crazy.
have all these expectations for his wife and had these
Mhm.
ideals. And then when he got the wife he got, he was cutting up.
Mm.
He was verbally abusive to her,
Oh wow.
emotionally abusive to her,
Oh wow.
gaslighting her,
Oh wow.
talking about her behind her back. And then he said at the end, he said yes.
Did she?
She said no.
Okay, thank you. Woo.
And that was the
Oh,
plotting moment for everybody.
yeah,
Was like, you go bow, good job. And he was like, I thought we were gonna make you work. I thought we
right.
would give it a chance. You pushed her away with your attitude, man.
Crazy. That's crazy. So Tanisha said he said he loved her and that she made him a better man, and then said he wanted to divorce, but still get to know each other after.
It's
Now
the
he just
logic for
means
me
he
or none.
still wants to get to know those yams a little bit better after this. Like that. That's really all he's saying. He was like, "Yo, you can close every door, but that one." And I'm just keeping it a being.
I'm
Like the dude
done.
just still want to collect those marital benefits that y'all were talking about. So,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I see we got Therese, and I hope I'm saying that correct. Welcome to the chat. We
Welcome
appreciate
to
you joining us.
Reese.
Says depend on the length of time, the connection, the vibe, the family. I usually don't unless it's serious enough. So, yo, I can dig that. I can dig that. Ebony says yes. Zach says, oh no. Tanisha says Zach is a red flag himself.
Waving. Waving.
Oh man, that's real.
Oh man, we
That's
want,
real.
and
That's
you know
real.
what? A lot of the black fans who watch this show, we want the black couples to work out, but the last couple of seasons have been rough. Okay, as Ebony says, his reason reminded me of Chris from last season. Hello, Chris Williams. Woo! He's like, he will go down in infamy as one of the most controversial husbands on the show
Why would he
ever.
do? I ain't see it.
Oh God, Chris from season 12, man. That Atlanta season, Houston, this season was
Oh,
rough.
is that the dude you were telling me about, Tatiana? The dude that was like in Atlanta and like he was putting on, he was posing and acting
Yeah.
like he was all, straight laced and he a man of God and all of that type of stuff.
He told the experts towards the end of that season, of all the women of Atlanta, of all the white queens and Latina queens and Asian queens and black queens, y'all gave me my wife. He was not into Paige at all, but he
Wow.
still wanted the yams.
Right.
And
I'm
so
not
that
I'm not I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. Ebony
was
says he was such a fraud.
he was. It was a very yo-yo, dramatic roller coaster with Paige and Chris from last season, to the point that I didn't even want to like give all my attention to watching this season. I just watched
Right.
recaps. I'm surprised I know that much about this show this season, because I was drained after Atlanta. You hear me? It was rough. So yeah, Zach was like Paige. He kept going back to this person that wasn't working out, but at the same time, he was entertaining it because the getting was good.
Mhm.
I mean, he legally married, so
Right.
I mean, it works out.
It's interesting. So Ebony says they say Bao and Zach were liking each other, and that's why he said no. Well, one of the reasons.
I can't wait for the reunion because it's about to be litty.
When is it? I'm gonna have to tune in now. Y'all got me interested a little bit.
It's Wednesday the 17th
Okay. Oh,
on
tomorrow then. Okay,
Lifetime.
bet that
Yes,
up.
because other couples have their own drama too, so it's gonna be interesting. All for the
Okay.
cookies. You're
All
absolutely
good.
right, Ebony.
Yeah. He like digging in the cookie jar. And she didn't put it up on the refrigerator where it was out of reach. So,
Hello?
no child safety locks on that cookie jar. So he was just
Right.
indulging.
Yeah, so you gotta. It was on Bao's IG story. Ooh.
Uh-oh.
Oh. Okay. Yes, Val, I'm glad she finally stood up for
Denise said,
herself.
yes, Bob. I'm glad she finally stood up for herself. Oh, she was in an abusive Is that the person that was with the abusive relationship?
Val had Johnny, and like I said, Johnny was the
Yeah, that's the
one
dude
who
you're talking
didn't
about,
like.
right?
Yeah, he didn't like Val. He didn't like anything about her. He didn't like her joy. He was turned off by her giddiness and said it was childish or immature. I was like, this guy right here, he needs to work on his own stuff. So there's a lot of rumors about this cast in
Mhm.
particular, like they're dating each other, they're swapping partners, like there's a lot. So we need to get some truth. I need to find out some real truth at the reunion specials. But
Right.
a lot of this stuff leaked out. According to the show, you're not supposed to disclose that you
Mhm.
divorced before it's talked about on the show before it airs. So
Yeah.
um,
Yo, I just want to know, did she really do that? Yo, and Ebony, she's sipping the tea.
I can't wait. Kevin Frazier better ask some good questions tomorrow. That's all I
Yeah.
gotta say. I have high expectations for him. You gotta make up for last year.
Yo, y'all got me interested now. I want to check it out.
And it's
But
a two-parter from what I know as
oh,
well.
that means it should be good, right? When they do it in two parts. Yeah.
Hmm.
And I'm curious, when we talk about mixed signals in a relationship, have you ever been in either a relationship or a situationship where the signals were getting crossed either by you or your partner?
I think there you could definitely have some confusion there. It's like that internal struggle, like you want because you're really going through it because maybe there's some soul ties involved. Like you're like, oh, we've been involved with each other in this way, and so I feel like conflicted. Like it should be easy to leave because there's a clear reason why I need to leave, but it's so hard,
Mhm.
so you stay longer than you need to. I understand that could cause for mixed signals, that could cause for
Yeah.
confusion, but you have to take a if you are dealing with that, like if you're dealing with mixed signals, like you're receiving it, or you feel like you need to get out of a relationship that's
Mhm.
not beneficial to you, but you find it conflicting or very hard to get out, ask
Mhm.
God for a way of escape. He will gladly provide it for you. I'm a
Yeah.
testimony to that, and I will say that it works. So just allow God to give you the clarity and the open door to get up out of there. Because you don't
Right.
need to stay in anything that's going to leave you confused. God's not
Mhm.
the author of confusion. He don't want you to be in a situation where you're drained, where you're
Right.
emotionally scarred. You should be coming out of this better
Mhm.
than worse than being in a
Right.
relationship. If you had the option to go into a relationship, would you not want to come out of that thing better than you were before?
Right.
Like that's the whole purpose of being in a relationship is to become
Mhm.
a better individual. You just happen to be with someone else. Like that's one of God's designs for marriage. So yeah, we got some more comments here about the show.
So, okay, I think Therese is watching it before because she's talking about the grilling part. So,
Oh,
okay, I get
okay.
it. You catching up on the stream. That's cool. We appreciate that for sure. Tanisha says Chris got married and on the first day of their honeymoon said his ex-girlfriend was pregnant by him. Said he was still in love with his ex and basically kept Paige in the limbo.
It was rough. I called that one an emotional yo-yo because that was what Paige was going through. He would literally tell her, Jay, to her face, "You're ugly."
Whoa.
Yeah, like he would say all these bad things about her, but then they would still end up being together intimately somehow. Like in another scene, I remember they had one of the experts come to their place that Chris never stayed at. Paige was always there at their shared space by herself. So he comes
Mm,
over there, and she's trying to figure out what's his deal, and so is the expert, and so he's not really cooperating. And then when the expert leaves, he's like, "I'm afraid to lose you, nigga." That whole season, it's just a big old red flag. That whole season was rough. It's
right.
like
Yo, y'all definitely got me interested in checking it out for sure. I promise. I promise that. Ebony says Zach is manipulative and Kay just has some anger issues, abandonment. Yes.
exactly, and that unfortunately that's where it stemmed from. Like she has some unresolved issues, and you know what? As much as we get, shout out to Ebony, as much
Right.
as we get entertainment for this show, I genuinely like to watch it because it makes me self-reflect and think about what flaws do I have, what character traits
Right.
do I have that may contribute negatively or positively to a relationship. What are some issues that I have that I would end up like if I don't look at it, or I don't treat it, or I don't allow God to fix it, that would mess up my relationship and make it go left. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I want it to go right. So I think a show like this, as draining as it can be, can definitely be a life lesson for us all to kind of like look at our past, look at how we're approaching relationships, look and see, ask ourselves, are we really ready for the realities, the heaviness, the work that comes with being in a relationship? Because I believe that every season in your life is going to be you're going to work. If you're
Right.
single, there's work for you to do. If you're in a relationship, there's work for you to do. If you're a parent, there's work for you to do. If you're divorced, if there's work for you to do, widowed,
Right.
so on. So there's every season, there's going to be something. So there's no like, it's going to be easier on the other side thing. It's like, no, bro, no, sis, water the grass that's on your side
Right.
and make it better. You have to cultivate your environment, your experience, your relationship for it to be what you want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Jack?
Ebony says, I feel that there were some deep issues with both of them, sadly. And that's true.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. And she was just giving your kudos, Miss T, for
Thank
dropping
you.
that fire.
I had a
That's
moment.
real.
That
That's
whole
real.
season had me going, y'all, as you can see.
And that brings to mind what you were just saying. What would you say is a lesson that you took away, something that you are more mindful of in yourself from this past season that you just got done checking out?
With this past season, wow, there's so much. It's like really coming to terms with your idealization of marriage. And also getting to know, if you're getting to know someone or if you're in a relationship, ask the other person what their ideals of marriage is, because maybe you all are not compatible if you all have different ideals and different visions for what you want to see your future in. It's one thing to have that initial chemistry and attraction, but it's another thing to get in those details and see like, what do you want your future to look like? What do you know, it's more than that initial chemistry. So I think you have to see like what is the background? Why do you believe in those ideals? Why does that person believe in their ideals? Are y'all willing to compromise? Is this going to work?
That's right.
This season made me think about that for sure.
That's real. Tiffany said, speak truth. T.
Yes.
You speaking truth, and that's real. That's real. I think we all have to be willing to examine ourselves and where we're standing. Kind of what we talked about last week is we should be evolving. Things should be changing within us when it comes to improving our approach to dating, our approach to relationships, but most importantly, ourselves, right? I definitely don't believe I'm perfect. I definitely believe that there are things that I have to work on and improve in. And if I'm not taking stock, then how am I ever going to be able to do that? And like you mentioned, watching shows like this could be one of the things that you use as a measure of saying, okay, well, I saw that person did that. I'm kind of prone to doing that. Look at how it played out in their situation.
Yes,
I don't want to experience that. So maybe I should
Exactly.
think about it, making some tweaks and some adjustments in this area of my life.
I just heard this quote again today. It was, a smart person learns from their mistakes. A wise person learns from someone else's mistakes. And a stupid person or silly person doesn't learn anything at all. They do the same thing over and over. So, yeah.
That's facts. That's facts. Tiffany says, communicate your expectations. You have
That's
to.
so fair. It's fair to you, so you can get what you want out of a relationship, and it's fair to the other person, so they have the option to stay or leave.
Wow, that's real. And Cynthia says, I was just typing that out, Jay. Yo, my bad. I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
Yeah,
I definitely would have put it up there for everybody to see.
Would you, Jay, would you go on a show like Married at First Sight?
Nah, I wouldn't.
And why?
Not Married at First Sight, right? Because marriage is something serious, right? Like, and I get that it's a show, but I feel like that would be a silly way for me to add a divorce to my track record. Like, and I'm just being real. I'm
He's
just
like,
being
I
real
am not gonna
because
stay with that girl.
I'm just being real. Like, I want to be able to pick the woman myself. Like, see, when you enter a situation like that, I'm putting my trust in complete strangers to pick a woman that I'm going to do life with. To me, that's just too big of a gamble. And I'm just being honest, Tatiana. I'm not a gambling man. I am not. So for me, a show like that would be too much of a gamble. And living with somebody, it'd be different if it was like a dating show or something like that. But nah, marriage, that's a high bar. And I'm good on entering that, especially sight unseen. Like, nah, Nah.
Yeah, and it's legal too. Like some of these couples are not together, but they're still technically married, and
Right.
it's there's the state that they live in gives them a hard time.
I bet. Tanisha says, for you, Tatiana, do you watch Ready to Love? A lot of good discussions can be discussed from that show as well.
I watched the first season. I love the first season. It was in Atlanta, and I think this season isn't it in DC or something like that. I haven't been watching, but I know there's some good stuff coming from that because Ready to Love, if you haven't heard
Mhm.
of it, Jay, is
Mhm. I
another
haven't.
reality show. There's a contest element to it though, but they have like black people who are over a certain age, like over
Okay.
30 usually,
Hmm.
that are ready to love, and maybe
Mm.
they had a hard time finding someone, or they're up there in age and they're looking to settle down. And so you have so many people going in with their expectations and their standards. They're going in there with they're leading with something.
Right.
And yeah, so it's you get a nice mix of characters and personalities for sure.
Mhm.
So yeah, that would be a good show to dissect one of these days.
Yeah, Tanisha, definitely let us know. And with that being said, to everybody that's viewing right now, if you guys have any questions or any topics that you want us to address in a future live stream, definitely leave them below. Let us know. If you haven't already, definitely make sure you hit that like button, share. We're not done yet. So if you got a friend that want to join the conversation, definitely invite them to tune in as well. Cynthia says, after waiting all this time, I do not want to get divorced after 2 months. Right, right.
I hear you on that. Same,
So
same.
I ain't mad at that. And Nisha says, her either. They should be allowed to get in the moment. Right, right.
Okay. I did like that show Love is Blind, and I'm waiting for the second season to come out. That was on Netflix, and that took
Okay.
over during the pandemic last year. We was all obsessed with him and the girl Lauren, and I think they just celebrated the anniversary. So
Oh, nice.
so that I'm happy for them.
Yeah.
And when you see happy stories like that come out of a reality show, you're kind of like, maybe I should give it a try, or maybe I should give that a shot.
Would you? Would you go on Married at First Sight? What would be your apprehensions if you wouldn't?
I wouldn't go on Married at First Sight because watching the show, I know how they roll. Like everything that you say you want in a partner, they're gonna give you like the opposite pretty much. So they did that to one girl this season. I was like, why y'all do this for the drama?
Right. Right.
But so I'm like, so do you play opposites? So
Mhm.
you pretend like you want the opposite of what you really want so they can give you what you really want? I don't know. That's too risk for
You trying to
me.
play psychological warfare with them, Tatiana?
Exactly. That'd be too much of a
Reverse
risk for me.
psychology?
Yeah, exactly. So I would probably do like Love is Blind because I think you're more in control in that sense. Like you get to know people, but there's a wall between you. You can't see that person until you pick them.
Yeah.
So
And I'm curious, since you've been watching for 13 seasons, like what's the track record of people that have all said yes at the end?
the marriage rate is very low. It's very low.
Not
It's
surprised.
in the hood. It's probably in under 30% now
Mm.
because
Wow.
I think only two couples.
Mhm.
Wait a minute. I think only one couple stayed together this
Mm.
season. All
Wow.
the other couples were like, no, unless I'm wrong, y'all. But there were some seasons that were worse than others. But yeah, the track record, the experts are the ones truly picking these partners. They're not great experts
Right.
because these couples, again, they just either they go in with their unaddressed issues and they're not really ready for marriage, or they go in with this idea of trying to change how the game or the experiment works. And it's like,
Right.
you can't do it like that. Either you're going to be open to the experiment or you're not.
Right.
Yes, DC. Okay, that's DC for love. Ready to love. Okay,
Yeah.
two couples stay together. Okay, yeah, that's right. Mirla and Gil and Rachel and Jose. But I heard rumors about both. So make sure you watch the reunion.
For how long though? For
Make sure
how
you watch the
long?
reunion because last season there were couples that didn't need to be together either. They still said yes, and now they're divorced.
Wow.
It's
So
rough.
with that being said, like how you feel comfortable having your relationship on display on a show like this?
No, absolutely not.
Right, because I mean, like I remember you saying like you're more introverted, so I would be curious to know like how that would go.
I feel like that my love life, if it's not to talk about something important, I don't think
Mhm.
it needs to be on display for everybody. I feel like a lot of people who put their real life relationships on reality TV don't really make it.
Yeah.
We've been seeing this since the early 2000s. I remember like when y'all remember the throwback show? It was like Jessica Simpson and Nick Lachey when they were married, and they had a reality show about their newlywed
Mhm.
situation. It was just they didn't make it. I
Yeah.
just feel like you can't invite all these eyes into your relationship, into those vulnerable moments, those moments where there's good, the bad, and the ugly. I know
Right.
there's like at some point you don't want to show just your highlights to the world, but I think there's something sacred with protecting the privacy of your relationship, especially your
I agree.
marriage. So,
I
yeah, I don't
totally agree.
think, even when I get married, I don't think I'll be sharing all that. I just feel like there's just certain things you need to protect. And
Right. Most
yeah,
definitely. The sanctity of marriage, right?
absolutely.
Tiffany says that sounds like a failed experiment. Yeah, it does.
It
And
is.
Cynthia says, Tiffany, yes, it is a failure, but it gets all the views. Yeah, of course.
And I think
Like,
that's
I
why
mean,
they
no,
keep doing the foolery that they do by pardoning people that have no business being together. Like, hey, you said you
right.
wanted a man who makes the same as you. Let's give you someone who doesn't care about money at all and makes like 10% of what you make. Make it make sense. Make it make sense.
That's real. That's real. Tiffany says the show needs to change the hypothesis and the variable.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. I like that.
Zach tried to change it though. He was like, I want to be able to date after I marry, after I divorce. I'm like, nah, bro, that's not. He tried to he was one of those people this season that was trying to
Mhm.
question is saying yes really saying yes? Is it saying yes to these last 8 weeks, or is it saying yes to something? I was like, boy, the show
Bruh,
said you
once
say yes
again,
to staying married, or you say no, you don't want to be married. Stop trying to
right.
change it.
Mix once again, like that dude and his mixed signals, man. I feel like he's not a very good communicator because
Mm.
I'm reminded of what it talks about in the Bible about let your yes be yes, man. Like don't be vacillating, going back and forth, back and forth. Like just be man enough to say, hey, you know what? I don't want to be in this relationship. I don't want to be in this marriage. And that's it. I don't think you should be as savage as the guy that you mentioned before. That was like, yo, listen, you ugly. I don't want to be with you. And that's just disrespectful.
It
That's
is.
just savage. It doesn't take all of that.
It
You can just
doesn't.
simply say, hey, you know what? This has been an experience. I don't feel like we are properly aligned. And I do not want to be married with you or married to you anymore. So, yeah, man. But he wrote a whole love poem just to get to a
He
no.
really did. He really did. That's unfortunate. So it's like the expert's assignment is to cause drama for ratings. Ooh, she's not
I bet it
wrong.
is. Right. I mean that's what they're experts in, right? Bringing the drama.
Terrible.
Yo, you said that's exactly what he should have done. Yeah,
Yo,
Kevin
like,
100.
yeah, I heard someone say before, like, Zach would have got more respect if he came at it that way, if he approached it like that. But unfortunately, he put himself in that situation by acting all wishy washy. Like, sir, get it together.
Yeah, it's
Respectfully.
just it's like yo, be real, man. Be real,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where communication becomes another important part in relationships, where you have to be honest about what your perspective is, and if
Mm-hmm.
it's changed. I think that's where you get mixed signals, is when people felt
Ooh.
one way and then a change happened, and now they
Yeah.
communicate the change after they got to see sides of you that they didn't know actually existed, or you started to pull back the layer and be like, "Oh, this person, they're not as deep as I thought." They kind of superficial. They kind of all on
Mm.
the surface. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, definitely. Let's see. I think we had a few more that came in. Cynthia says, Tanisha, but dealing with people's real lives, yeah, they are. They are.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, yeah, Tanisha, you are right. Yeah, most definitely. Yeah. These experts are causing the drama for ratings. No question about it.
Yeah, it's
But
unfortunate.
yeah, yo, I have had fun. I enjoyed this. Y'all definitely got me to the point where I'm like, yo, I got to check this show out. I might go see if I can find some episodes and check them out and, get a little bit more tuned in on what's going on with Married at First Sight. But nah, I enjoyed tonight's stream, Tatiana. I hope you enjoyed it as well.
I
Everybody
did.
that's in the chat, if you have questions or if you have any comments or topics that you want us to address on a future live stream, definitely leave them there so that we can go and find them. We'll definitely make sure we discuss it. But with that being said, Tatiana, any last closing words, any questions that you want to throw at me before we jet?
Let's see. Like if you get mixed signals from someone that you're dating or in a relationship with, like should you approach that? Like if you're sensing there's mixed signals that you're getting from your partner, like what's the best way to come to that?
I feel like the best way to do it without offending her would be to ask questions. So, what I would want to do is to get her to reveal what she once believed and what she currently believes. So, I would ask her, like, hey, you remember when, we were having this conversation and you said XYZ? And then once she, gives me the affirmative, like, yeah, she remembers that she said that, then my question would be, so do you still believe that? Is that still the position that you hold? How do you feel now that we've gone through this, or the situation has changed in this regard? And I would just want to speak to her about it and see if we can allow the signals to become more aligned by just giving her the opportunity to say, hey, things have changed, my perspective has changed, as opposed to coming at her and being like, yo, you said this but you've been acting like that. Like, I don't believe that that's the right way to try to fix the signals that have been crossed or mixed.
Right. That's
Yeah.
really good. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, questions help bring clarity, That's
they
what's up.
do. They do. What would you do? I'm curious.
Let's see. Let's see. I would
Especially
say,
being an introvert, right? Like, you've observed it, but
hmm
what would you be doing as the next step?
yeah, it's like you definitely want to have a conversation and try to get a check in to gauge for the temperature. Like, where are we at? Like, how are you feeling about us? Like, what are your thoughts about us? Let's have an open, honest conversation and try to get that going.
Hmm. Yeah. And let me ask you this: do you feel like it's difficult to have those conversations?
It depends on the person, but I think if you develop a trust with them, like you can be vulnerable with that person, then you
Hmm.
can have that conversation. I mean, it's never like easy to like go into it like, hey, let's have a vulnerable conversation today.
Hmm.
But but if you have that rapport with them in your
Hmm.
relationship where you can do that, like, hey, you just kind of roll up your sleeves and do it because you care
Yeah.
about that person at the end of the day.
Right. And I'm
Yeah.
curious, what's your thoughts on the whole "we need to talk"? Are those like scary words?
Oh,
Is it like dun dun dun?
yes,
Or are you like,
yes.
okay, let's talk. Let's talk.
Yeah, those are scary words for me. Like I just get anxiety if I hear it. I'd be like, it's like a drop feeling in your stomach, You're like, oh, what does that mean? What does that mean? I don't want to assume the worst, but I want to
Right.
prepare for it though in my mind. And
Hmm.
there's been situations like that where I've had the we need to talk and I knew it was going to lead to a breakup conversation.
Mm.
And then there was we need to talk because we have conflict we need to resolve. So
Okay.
yeah, it is what it is. It's not the easiest phrase to hear, but
Nah,
sometimes you just gotta be grown and handle your grown business.
that's facts. That's facts,
Yeah.
yo. Sometimes you gotta have that talk. And I'll never forget one of the things that a married couple that I was speaking to on the podcast I mentioned. They said every Sunday they kind of have this time where they bring everything to the table. So if there are questions or concerns or things that were going on through the week that they felt some type of way about, this is the safe space to discuss it, where the person knows that, hey, every week we talk about these things and I'm going to give you the opportunity to say what you're going to say. I'm not going to cut you off. I'm not going to try to defend it. And we can have these conversations. And that was always something that I lodged in the back of my mind, because I'm like, that's a practice that I would like to implement with my future wife, because we all know that things come up.
Right.
And unless you have a safe space in that relationship where you can bring these things to the table and discuss them in an honorable and a respectful way, I think it can make things a lot more challenging. So that's just one thing that I wanted to add, that could potentially be helpful for people out there.
That's
So
really
let's see.
good. Good
Cynthia
practical
says,
tip.
what's an easier way to say let's talk? What do you think?
I'm thinking about it right now. I don't know right off bat about that. But yeah, I'm pretty sure there's an easier way to say it than we
Hmm.
need to talk.
Right.
Um maybe start asking open-ended questions like you said, Jay, like, hey, what are your thoughts about this? Make sure that the environment is conducive for a
Right.
conversation that you're about to have. Don't ask them when they're stressed or when they're upset about something else. You want to make
Hmm.
sure that you guys are both in the right space to have a conversation as serious as it is, at the same time.
I
So
agree.
probably some open-ended questions like how do you feel about blank blank blank?
Right. Right. That's real. Yeah. And like Cynthia says, she loves that. Tiffany says, yes, I love that approach too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Those weekly check-ins.
Right. I think that is extremely beneficial. And with regards, going back to Cynthia's question of how to make that easier, like I said, the method that I found to be effective for me is not leading or diving directly into it, but
Mm.
navigating our way there through another conversation where we start a conversation off on the same page. We start off in an amicable space, and then I'm coming to the table with what I want to talk about in mind, right? But I want to have something that will lead me in that direction and do it in a way where what I want to bring up is not going to be offensive, so that
Mm-hmm.
we can talk about those things. And I think case in point, our discussion today is a good one, right? If you
Yeah.
got a couple that watches Married at First Sight and they're starting to see some behaviors that was on the show crop up in their relationship, it
Yeah.
would be great to like kind of throw it out there like, yo, babe, what'd you think about Zack and the way he did the whole love poem before giving the no? Because maybe your girl is the type to give you like all of these accolades, and then she be like, yeah, but you still ain't nothing. Like, well, hold on, like I mean, you just bigged me up, and I was feeling real good. I thought
No.
something positive was gonna happen, but then you just let all the air out my balloon. So it's situations like that where you may be able to use it. Like, did you think what Zach did was okay? And if she's like, yeah, that was great. I love the way he gave her a whole love poem, got her in her feelings, and then just told her it's over, baby. And then in that regard, you can be like, okay, like it might be something a little bit wrong with my wife. And I probably need to go back to the drawing board as to how we're gonna have this conversation
Get some
because
couples counseling, get a third party
yeah,
involved.
yeah, she got a savage bone in her body right now in this moment. Oh man, I love it. Last one before we wrap. Tiffany says, ease into the conversation and not be aggressive or offensive. And I agree. That's
Amen.
don't want to offend anybody.
That's
Don't
good.
want to offend it. Yeah. But Tatiana, another amazing live stream. I appreciate you coming on, co-hosting with me. All of the real lovers, I appreciate you guys for showing up. Tiffany, Tanisha, Tommy,
Thank you.
Cynthia, Stephen, PK Chronicles, Ebony. I hope I'm not forgetting nobody. Therese, I think I named everybody. So I just want to go back up. Yeah, I think that's everybody. If I miss you, I apologize. But just want to thank everybody that tuned in and joined us.
Thank
We'll
you
be back
guys.
again next Tuesday, 7 p.m. And look forward to catching up with you guys and having another great conversation in. But thank you, Tatiana, and thank you everybody else for joining us, man. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jay. Thanks, everybody.